So welcome to this week's episode of Dictate the Tempo. I am one of the two fantastic hosts, and I'm joined this week by Colin. Thank you for joining me, Colin.
Howdy.
I should probably say my name is Paul, but I guess, I don't know, I kind of assume people would know that, but people don't know that. So thank you for joining us, though, and we're back for another week of Football Manager talk. We did miss the last podcast 2 weeks ago. Apologies for that. I was feeling a bit rough. I messaged in the chat saying I was feeling a bit rough, which Colin responded with, "Yes, I'm feeling a bit rough too." So we said, didn't we? As seen as Football Manager 25's not even existing, and we're still 20 million years away from the new game, we can afford skipping a podcast. People understand. People can accept it, Colin. I mean, if they can't, it's too late now anyway, so, you know. We live
can't
and
go
learn.
back in time.
No, I'll blame you, Colin. We should blame Ryan, because he's obviously not here again, so we do apologise. For people who tune in for Ryan's dulcet tones, I apologise. I think Colin scared him off.
It's entirely possible.
It's always possible. So, we have a very chilled podcast. We've got some save game topics to get into. But you wanted to mention that you have downloaded, Colin, a match engine mod. Now, I did try to download this before we went live to testing, had a bit of an issue. So we'll obviously discuss that. But what is it? Where did you find it? And what is it? Did I ask that?
Yes. So I found it off of, I had it was actually a Zealand video that came across my YouTube stuff, and I gave it a click and I was interested. So it's fmtweak.com. So that's fmtweak.com/match-engines. They released 4. Zealand did a good video on it. So if you want a little bit more in-depth, highly recommend it. But they basically have 4 match engines. One they call the Tweak match engine, which theoretically is a mashup of the Chinese communities mod, which is a more offensive mod, and the South Korean FM communities mod, which is a more defensive mod. So they mashed them together, fixed up a bit of what was going on, improved some defensive playing, tweaked some corners, and put it out there. I have to say that's what I have installed. Much more enjoyable to watch. The ball moves at a pace that you'd sort of expect, and players tend to react more the way that you think they would react, as opposed to being a little like, brain dead, as it were. They then have an arcade version, which is supposed to be a little more like EA. They have one called Lockdown, which is supposed to be a little more like lower league play, so a little slower, a little more physical, more demanding from a like tactical perspective, because it's more just a physical slog. And then they have one that they just call basically Insanity, which is kind of goofy. They have the instructions, like I said, go to Zealand's video for installation stuff, but it's actually interesting. It makes I find it makes the game more enjoyable to watch, because it plays more the way you would expect it to play.
I mean, I watched Zealand's video. It did look a bit almost, we could say, smoother. But one of the things I found was I decided to download it about 2 hours ago to give it a try. I followed the instructions Zealand said, remove one of the files. I've removed that file, copied it over to the folder just in case I had to put it back in, which obviously I did. Copied in that file, and it crashed for me loading up, so I haven't had a chance to test it. Obviously you didn't have that issue, which means that I must be doing something wrong. But these match engine, what do we call them? Match engine mods, that's it. They seem to have come from nowhere, Colin. Like, it wasn't a thing before, was it? A match engine mod?
So there was one years ago. I don't remember exactly when, but I know it was like, I don't know, 17, 18. 19, somewhere in there. It was years ago. Someone did one, and I know SI reacted like badly. They were pretty aggressive about it, and not particularly thrilled with it. So I suspect that the modding community went back to skins and face packs and kind of the quote unquote fluffier part of things. I think with the FM25 disaster, it reinvigorated because I've seen a few more things. I've seen some like commentary. I've seen a couple of different kind of mods appear that were, I don't know, taboo
Yeah.
before, and I'm not sure that like SI's got like tons and tons of ground to stand on and say like, oh no 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 no, we're advancing the game. I mean, to a certain extent, right? If they were advancing everything annually as expected and making the improvements and the tweaks to the game and the game engine and how it all worked, like modding it becomes kind of a moot point. Now that it's not there, I think two things have sort of come out of it for me. One, opening the door because 24 is likely going to last a lot longer for a lot of people. So fixing some of the general issues that are in there is um, is certainly going to keep the game. Is going to improve the game's longevity and improve the enjoyment factor for more people. I think the second one is it raises an interesting question: is how did a bunch of modders go and figure out how to make a better match engine than the guys who make the game and their match engine? Because it fixes. Like, I'm not going to say it's it's not a radical 1,000% different experience than you've ever had, but it does fix a bunch of things that when you watch it play have always been just goofy. Like defenders that, seem to like suddenly forget that they exist and are living, that their brains fall out their ears. Like, stuff like that that um no longer happens, right? You see defenders setting up and you can see poor defenders playing poorly, but good defenders playing well and like world class defenders, being world class.
I saw a video by Loki Doki. I think it was 5 things. I think it was called 5 Things I Don't Like About the Match Engine. And I have to say, Colin, I laughed at one of them, which was the the opposition's attacker puts a cross in. It's basically going well deep, well over, going out for a goal kick. But the defender thinks, no, I'm going to header this back into the danger zone. I have control of this. I know what I'm doing. The next thing you know, he costs you a goal. But you said
the
something.
Other one that
Sorry.
the match the one that I've noticed that they fixed in at least this match engine that I'm playing is the other one. Same thing, right? Somebody puts in a cross, it's ludicrously out of the way, and anybody who's ever played the game with half a brain is going to sit down and say, let it go. It's a goal kick. We'll restart play. And you get that one defender who would run out there and like head it over for a corner. And it's like nobody on earth would do that. Like literally, like U5s maybe. Beyond that, nobody else on the planet is going to make that move. But it would do it religiously. Like stuff like that is out of this match engine. Like you see a little bit more flair. You see, I would say, I feel like tactics, at least in the like I said, at least in the one I'm using, I feel like tactics function more the way that you would expect them to in terms of like fluidity and movement and passing and decision making, and you get less trying to figure out how to like cheese the system to get what you want, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. You do see a lot of people who say like, "Oh, I've used this tactic; it's working really well," and then you see another person using the exact same tactic, and you do obviously think, "Is this tactic one that the system struggles to understand or to deal with?" So I guess, like you say, it's more based on you creating a tactic which works well with the players you've got. But you said an interesting comment during it, which was how can a bunch of modders create a better match engine than the people who make the game? I think this is one of the issues that Football Manager's had, and one of the reasons why I'm intrigued to see what Unity brings, and that is the fact that me and you are both playing on custom skins. I actually went back to the default skin not so long ago for about 5 minutes, And I could not believe the amount of simple additions in these custom skins, which make so much common sense in terms of clickable shortcuts to specific pages, for example, them kind of things. Information on the squad screen. We just were discussing the average age of our squads. Them kind of bits of information along the top line as you're looking at your squad. And then you look at the match engine. Like I said, if you remember a few years ago, there was a content creator called, I think she was called Moose or something, who made custom faces. You have the updated databases which get done by people. There's so many parts of the game which they are so bad that general public people can make it better. Like, I am graphically pathetic. I am basically a 1980s graphic designer. But I could go on the Paint or on the Photoshop, cut out a few faces and import them into the game. I have the skill and the ability to import into the game because it's not difficult, and I can make a face pack better than the one Football Manager produces. So these small things I do hope get improved. I think it's unbelievable and fantastic that the community does this free of charge and creates these kind of things and has the option you can tip them. I did see there is a tip available. Currently, I wouldn't be offering it because I can't get to work. But I just think Football Manager for FM26, you have a new engine in Unity. You have a new team, I guess, with a lot of people coming in to help with this changeover. They have to step up, Colin. They have to step up in terms of making a skin which is playable. Graphical representations of Nugents which are acceptable. And a match engine which doesn't need alterations to make it more realistic. Because I think that's the issue with this match engine, Colin, is the fact that the match engine you have downloaded is to make the game more realistic. That shouldn't be the case because the people who create this game should be making the most realistic one. You could download one which is graphically different, make your players all look like Shrek. But in terms of making it more realistic, the match engine we use default from Sports Interactive should be the best one in my opinion. And it's not. And that's the issue, Colin.
No, I would agree. I think from my perspective, yeah, there's a couple of things just to kind of pull some strings that you were talking about. I can't tell you the last time I played on the default interface in the game because it's just clunky. And I will say that was the one piece of their announcement that sort of freaked me out a little of like, well, we're still working on the user interface based on feedback. And it's like hire somebody in the modding community because like you've never gotten one right. They've never worked right. They've always been weird and awkward and goofy and they take a while to find whatever. And the people that make the mods and out there do such a brilliant job of just making seamless, clean, easy interfaces. I mean, I get that there's a lot of information in the game, but it just makes such a big difference. So yeah, they haven't been very upfront about whether the support's going to be in there or not, which makes me a little nervous because I mean, I think we all remember some of the icon changes for like in the match status, for being able to tell if players are fit or not fit. And it was like, yeah, get this, like anything but this is better in there. So yeah, I don't think they've ever done a good job from a user interface workflow continuity perspective. So I'm hopeful that it gets better, but please don't take the modders out at this stage because you need them to bail you out. The match engine one is weird to me because the prevalence of at least, I mean, obviously there's a few of these, and from what I've read from descriptions and forum posts and translations and things like that, like this isn't doing the mods isn't easy to do for that, but they clearly figured it out, and even with what I would define as modest levels of testing, at least from the one that the Chinese FM community did, where they basically said, look, we didn't test this a ton, but we played enough and it feels better. Like it was distinctly different. Even just the way the ball moves, so the ball speed movement is light years closer to what you would normally expect, especially when you're playing in a save at like an elite level. Watching them like tap the ball back and forth like you're watching a bunch of 12-year-olds kicking around for the very first time. It's like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. You're compared to the rapid 1-2s and things like that that you're used to seeing in like elite, end stage Champions League caliber teams that the game never really replicated quite correctly. And as we were talking about earlier, the really screwball decisions that got made. Like I know a few years ago when they changed the decision making speed in it so that players were thinking more, quote unquote, but they still made really bizarre decisions in it. And the fact that through some parameter adjustment and playing and watching and observation, you got some things that were able to produce matches that look good, right? I mean, I've been, we were tallying that up a few weeks ago. I mean, I've got, since I started playing this game, 11,000 hours of football manager in since I started playing it, FM 13. I'm pretty good at seeing what the match engine produces versus, like I consume a ridiculous amount of global football, to say the least, club football, international. So I'm pretty good at understanding like what the game looks like, especially at top tier levels versus what, you know, what FM is creating. And the fact that, within the span of whatever, 3 months, 6 months, there's been several of these that have produced much better, higher caliber outputs. Now, I will give SI credit, right? They had to build all the framework, they had to build all the stuff that gets you there. So fair enough, they had to go do all the hard work to give you to be able to produce this. But the fact that they only figured out how to get it 90% of the way. But like I said, I think it's well worth checking out the video that Zealand did. I think he gave a good, honest approach of some stuff didn't look distinctly different or whatnot, but you definitely saw some different behaviors. And again, from a guy he plays this a lot, I think it was a pretty fair assessment. And it's it's not world changing, but it does change. It does fix a bunch of the things that when you play enough of it, get real annoying.
I think it's definitely like you say, something to give a go, and like you said, they've improved it, and like you said, it's not a major overhaul to the point where it's almost too much. They've just tweaked bits and bobs, and you're a fan of it, so like I said, I think we'll get mine working. I'll give it a test and say exactly what I think of it, but it can't be worse. It can't be worse
No,
because, like I say, there's just so many parts of it which we shouldn't be witnessing in 2025. To be honest with you, so
yeah,
but again, like it's so difficult because you always have the ones who will say, "Well, I'm not here for the graphics. I'm not here for this. I'm not here for that." It's 2025, mate. Get off your potato. No matter what. No, like I would play the game if it was 2D, but I'm not. I'm playing it on 3D, and I want it to look good. And
yeah,
I think when we are paying the money we pay for the game, we should expect it to look good as well. We have a right to say we want it to look good. We have a right to say it looks bad. We have a right to say the skin is poor. And I think one of the most worrying things is going back to the skin side of it, Colin, because I feel like the skin side of it is the easiest thing for them to fix. So going back to
you'd
the
think.
skin side of it in terms of fixing the issues with the skin in terms of them slight adjustments that the modders have done, surely somebody within the football manager offices has downloaded one of the skins and gone, oh, I like that bit. Oh, I like that bit. Like, let's go to the match day experience. It is so bad on that tablet on the default skin. It is so bad. The lack of information and the fact that that could be skinned so easily to provide so much more information. I just hope that there's a big change with this new Unity engine. That is one of the biggest things I'm hoping for. But let's go over to the current saves that we are on with. So I'm doing a European journeyman on YouTube. I'm currently at my
Mhm.
second club after starting a Sportist Svolga in Bulgaria. We won promotion in season 1, and then we moved on to Trenčín in Slovakia. We finished our first season and won the Slovak Cup, which qualified us for Europe. And we've now finished our second season, where we finished in the top 3 in the top tier. So we are now pushing on to see what we can achieve in our third season as a manager. Now, we do have an absolute wonder kid who is named after one of my YouTube membership members. I don't know what they called, Colin. The people who pay like the same expenses as a cup of coffee each month. No, because the subscribers, everybody who clicks subscribe, don't they? Is it a YouTube member, would you say?
Yeah, that's probably a member.
But Alex I don't know how to say his name, and I've tried to pronounce it a few times. Wallish, I think it is, or Wallach. But he came through my intake at Trenčín, and he got 18 and 18 in his first half season. From when he turned 16 and was able to actually play, because under 16s couldn't play. So we had to not use him at first, but as soon as he was able to play, he got 18 in 18 games and finished top goal scorer in the league. And I think that's just insane. And we've got ourselves an absolute gem. Let me tell you that. But your save, Colin, dive us into it. How is it going? Who are you? Because last we heard you were Truro City.
So Truro has concluded. So we have officially won both a Premier League as well as a Champions League title. And I kind of ran it. I was debating, do I want to keep going to a Club World Cup or not? And I will say that I am firmly in the camp of, at some point when you play in England, you just snowball to the point where of a bit of inevitability, and building an English super team just sort of, I don't know, wasn't doing it for me. So I decided, I feel like I achieved what I wanted to there, so I put it to rest. So now I banged around a little bit. I was playing around with some different ideas. I spent some time looking at Romania and just couldn't get attached uh, to any sides. I was thinking about a bit of a like Bilbao type challenge there. Just couldn't get attached to any sides. So what I decided I'm going to try and take on the ultimate, call it the ultimate FM challenge, right? With San Marino. So I am Victor San Marino. We started in Group D in Serie D. We were newly promoted in the first season in the database that I got. We finished in the playoff in our group in Serie D in the first 2 seasons. We won the playoff actually in our first season. Although for lots of reasons, if you're familiar with Italian lower leagues, the playoff it has a purpose, but it's a little wonky, and FM doesn't really know what to do with it, so it doesn't really get you anywhere. But we won Serie D, our group, as well as the Serie D Scudetto in season 3. So we are currently in our first season in Serie C at the moment, in a hell of a group that contains both Sampdoria and Spal, which are not far removed from being Serie A sides, which is a little spooky compared to what we are. So goal right now is just get up to Serie A and become an established team. Get into the upper place, get money, build infrastructure, so we can start bringing San Marinese players through the academies and really start to develop some world class, top tier San Marinese players out of a top flight, elite European club, and then we'll see if we can't get San Marino rising up the international ranks. At some point, I expect I'll take charge of San Marino. So playing in England and how all the international management works has been a good experience there. So now I know kind of what to expect in it. But that's we're going to see if we can do the ultimate and win a World Cup with San Marino.
So is this club the reborn old San Marino, which were in the third tier, weren't they? I think when they disappeared.
Yeah.
Or is it a different team?
No, so I believe this is the Phoenix version of, was it Calcio San Marino, which I
Yes.
think was the old one. So yeah, Victor San Marino is basically the new. It's the San Marinese side playing in the Italian pyramid, the Wrexham of Italy, as it were.
Do you get a lot of San Marie's players through the intake or the Italian that are coming through? Or is it like a mix?
It's a pretty good mix of both. I say it's about, so far in the intakes I've seen, it's about 50-50
Okay, that's nice.
um, between it. The San Marinese players have been subpar so far. I've got a
Yeah,
couple of decent Italian kids, but for the level that we're playing at. But um, once my aim is, once I get up there enough, I'm trying to keep it predominantly, Italian. I mean, I'm still trying to keep some San Marinese players around, even if they're bench or whatnot. But once we get into the top flight and are able to build some real infrastructure in that, because we'll be able to bring San Marinese players through with the Italian youth ratings and that, which should hopefully produce um, much higher caliber players. So I'm somewhat hopeful that once we get up to the, kind of up to the top flight and building a real established club, that we'll start to potentially see some, the odd San Marinese wonder kid, but just generally a higher
just be
caliber
nice to get a few,
of
wouldn't it?
yeah, it would be, and just generally a higher caliber level of talent. I'm hoping that basically having a dedicated sort of, super club would allow us to um build up players that are going to boost, San Marino's
Yeah.
stature in the international. I'm assuming at some point I'm going to need to take over to try and, extract every ounce of anything out of San Marino as an international power. Um, Once we kind of get there, but for now, it's just get up to the top flight, get money, and invest into the club to build the club into a sustainable, Italian and European powerhouse would be my target.
How is the club doing financially? Have you had to sell players, or is it? Are you entering the National Cup as well? Are you in that each season? Like, how are you bringing in income at the minute?
Purely right now, our income is really purely based on Series C's TV deal. So it's about $1 million a year. Our um, our expenses and such are below that right now. So I'm pretty much existing entirely off of TV revenue. We've sold one player, but for like 30 grand. So really nothing at this point. No, nobody's really worth anything. I have a few, relegation release clauses and some things like that of, 100 grand here or there, but generally speaking, nothing. So we're okay financially. Got about 100 grand in the bank and kind of break even ish for the season. So we're obviously at the bottom end of everything financially, which will take a bunch of years to fix. And honestly, my expectation is we're going to be grinding at the bottom end of all of that until such time as we get up into the top flight. Serie C doesn't go into the Coppa Italia, from what I understand. I believe it has its own. Serie D and Serie C have their own cups. I think it's not
Okay.
until Serie B, if I may be wrong on that, but I believe I saw a dedicated Serie C cup. And there was a dedicated one for D. We didn't go into the Coppa Italia in
No.
Serie D.
Okay. I wonder if they just take a few or something from it, but that would be interesting to see
Yeah.
how that goes. How you do when you come up. Do you get a big draw against a big club and that financially massively boosts you? For example, it would be very interesting to follow that and see if that ended up being a great help for you, I guess. But like you said, if you're financially ticking along nicely, spending less than you earn, and then you're in a very good position.
So far, so good. I can't, we're I mean, look, I'm a low level side in Italy. Like, nobody's beating down the door. So if I have, as long as the balance is stable and positive, it doesn't really make a humongo bit of difference as to what's going on.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I'm not setting the world on fire
How is
here.
your How is your attendance as compared to the rest of the league? I know you've only played a couple of games at this level, but how are you looking?
We're kind of in the bottom piece of it. We get a few hundred people out.
Yeah.
You know,
That's going to be so
kind of.
cool to look back on if you get like 30,000 at games, for example, in 10 years' time. Imagine looking back and going, when I came in, we had 150, we had 200.
Our 114 OGs who had season tickets way back in the day.
They definitely going to be in the back just saying, I remember back in my day before this guy came along and brought all the plastics to us.
Exactly.
I think it's going to be an interesting journey to follow without a shadow of doubt. I definitely think we should recap this again in 2 weeks and see how far you've gone. So just recap season by season your league finishes and the exact position you're sitting in right now, Colin, for people so they know what to think of before the next episode.
So season 1, we finished 4th in Serie D Group D and won the playoff. Season 2, we finished 2nd in Serie D Group D and failed out of the playoffs in the semifinal. Season 3, we finished 1st in Serie D Group D and then won the Serie D Scudetto. And then right now we are a few games in season 4 in Serie C Group B, and we are currently in 19th on 2 points, 3 points, 3 points clear of the playoff zone, drop the relegation playoff zone. But we're 5 games into the season,
Yeah.
into a 38-game season, so plenty of time.
I think it's going to be a journey which I'm excited to follow, and I want to see the screenshots. So people need to make sure that they go into our Discord, the Northman Discord channel. There are links on all of the YouTube videos, so make sure you do head over if you're listening on one of the podcast platforms when you get home. Go onto my YouTube channel and make sure you do join our Discord and pester Colin to share his best player who has San Marino nationality, his best Italian player, and also loads of random other screenshots as well. Just pester him constantly. Keeps him busy. But Colin, I want to thank you for tonight. We've had a nice catch up, just recapped how it's been going, and just reminded people that we're still alive and we are still waiting for FM26. And you encourage people to go and check out this this match engine modification.
Yeah, no, yeah, give it a check. Like I said, as you said, right, come into the Discord. I'd be interested to see what other people's experiences are and what you like, what you like and what you don't like in there, and things that you see anything differently. So always happy to have a discussion there. And then absolutely would love to talk more. I'm trying some very different. Maybe next time we can dive in. I'm trying some very, very, very different tactical schemes from what I'm used to playing in this save. So I've largely on purpose abandoned the fast-paced, open style, counter-attacking, physical game for a very slow-paced, possession-hungry, deliberate, possession-oriented approach. I won't say not a ticky tack. I'm not a piece in here. I'm basically trying to find tactics that allow me to use guys like Pirlo. They can't run, they can't move, but if you give them time and the ability to look around, they will pick passes out of nowhere that can get turned into magnificent goals. So I'm trying to do some different things tactically in this one. So maybe next time we'll dive into some more of that. And then obviously come into the Discord. We always love to have good tactical chats. So
For the OG people, what Colin basically is saying, he wants to try to find a tactic which will work with Bram Ellison. So I completely agree. Someone who can just pass it and spray it all day long. In the next podcast, then, we will make it a proper tactic deep dive episode. We can dive into the tactics I'm currently using, how it's working, how it's not working, the adjustments I think we should make, and what you think I should make. And then we will dive into your tactic, the adjustments, and we will do it with the tactics open. So I will send you my tactic, you send me yours in advance, and then we go into it with a proper open plan of what we are going to critique and what we are going to enjoy within the tactic. And I can say also, whilst we are live doing this podcast, one of my players has just won his first cap for Italy, so congratulations to him. No doubt he's going to be stolen by some big boy team now. Thank you for tonight's podcast, Colin. Very much appreciated. And we will see everybody in the next episode in 2 weeks' time of Dictate the Tempo.